action. Right, good afternoon. I warmly and officially welcome you to the historic Cape Coast Dungeon. My name is Pa Kwesi Opin. You can simply call me Kwesi because I was born on Sunday. But before we start walking, I will give you a brief background history about the dungeons, the forts and the castles, and European slave trade. I don't want to call it transatlantic because this was not perpetrated by the Atlantic Ocean, rather by the Europeans. But for them not to be blamed, they said we should call it transatlantic, as if it was done by the Atlantic Ocean. The Europeans came to West Africa and did not rest at all because they built about 60 dungeons, forts, and castles in West Africa. Out of the 60, Ghana had about 40, all because of our gold. So it was not surprising that they named our coast Gold Coast. Our neighboring coast was named Ivory Coast, and the coast of our part of present-day Togo, Benin, Nigeria was named Slave Coast. So as they were getting a lot of gold from here, they were getting a lot of ivory from our west coast and a lot of enslaved Africans from the east coast. But out of the 40, we now have about 22 of them existed. 19 forts, 3 castles. First castle built in Ghana is the one in Elmina, St. George's de Stelo de Mina. Portuguese built Elmina Dungeon in the year 1482, being the oldest, the largest, the biggest dungeon in the country. It happens to be the oldest European structure outside entire Europe. And second one is in Accra, Christiansborg, Osu, Denmark built Christiansborg, 1661. This is the youngest, the third, the last dungeon, Cape Coast, built by the British, 1665. About 359 years old. Very old, but the structure is still strong. Surprisingly, the original structure, like in here, no cement, no annual bars. Any cement mortar you see here is what we use to restore the edifice. They used bent bricks, they brought them, bent bricks, labor by Africans. So that should inform us that our ancestors contributed, built their own dungeons and cells. After they were held, they were killed in them. And most of these facilities were dungeons. The Europeans they had our ancestors, held them in the dungeons, brought ships, loaded them, sent most of them to the Americas, the Caribbean, West Indies to work, develop their countries. And some of our ancestors who became victims were people the Europeans themselves raided or kidnapped. What I mean is they could set an whole village ablaze on fire, and as the people were running for their lives, they captured the young boys. You could be working on your farm with your brother. You look back and he's gone. Sometimes they used deceit. Let's go to our home countries. We will give you better lives. They ended up working for them. And sadly, some of our own African chiefs, traditional rulers, prominent personalities, brought some people and sold. But they were not selling their brothers, their sisters, their children. Most of the people they brought were rather some of their prisoners of war, people who were captured during warfares. Because I believe you're all aware that there was no Ghana, no Togo, no Nigeria, no Burkina Faso, one big continent made of states, kingdoms, empires, ethnic groups, chiefdoms, as we still have. They all wanted to expand, enlarge their territories, fighting among themselves. And those who were defeated, instead of them to be killed by the victors, rather they captured them and sold some out for gunpowder. I said what they were fighting on, meaning there was a gap. Africans were not that united then. The Europeans took advantage of that. Sadly, we are still not united, and they are also still taking advantage. Wherever they got the captives, mainly from West Africa, they walked them in chains and shackles. Some died on the way. Because see, walking from Kumasi to Cape Coast, over 200 kilometers, Tamale is about 600. Others came from present-day Burkina Faso, Niger, Mali, Guinea, and they were all brought to the coast. Those who survived, when they brought them here, some were taken upstairs, There's a big hall upstairs called Palaver Hall. That was the auction block for European doctors, nurses to examine them from head to toe to determine their strength. After, they were not even sold out for money. They were exchanged for guns, gunpowders, mirror, fabrics, tobacco, knives, sugar, according to their strength. Meaning Africans were reduced low to the level of commodity like mirror, like tobacco. After they brought them downstairs, burnt marks on them, branded them for easy identification, pushed them into the dungeons. And they were in the dungeons for a few days, to about 3 months, waiting for the ships to come take them to where? North America, South America, the Caribbean, like Brazil. Now, I mentioned Brazil first because Brazil received the highest number. About 46% were sent to Brazil by the Portuguese. That is why in the whole world, Brazil is the second country after Nigeria with the highest number of black people. There are 100 million black people in Brazil. Ghana is just about 33, 34 million. So population of Ghana, Togo, Benin put together, we cannot match black folks only in Brazil. Most of them are there because of this nonsense. So to Brazil, you know what the US of Suriname, Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, Antigua and others to work on sugar cane, tobacco, cotton, coffee plantations. That's the usual. Few were sent to do construction works. So the men were here, women were down there. And right on top of this male dungeon was a church. Can you believe that? Church above the slave dungeon. Imagine how dark it will be at night. Only because the dungeon is always dark, some of the captives lost their sight. This is the first chamber. Each chamber like this was occupied, the packed, squeezed, about 200 people. So the 5 from this one to the last one, about 1,000 men. And this very one was called a strong chamber for those who were physically, mentally very strong. Because they were strong, they chained them, normally by their ankles, against this wall. So see, they were locking up the chains in these holes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Oh my God. First walking in, the ground was rough, but it's almost like the ground was kind of like gravitating. It was like pulling you so you could actually feel like this is your history you're walking on. It was bumpy, seeing like the spots that were high and low is where like the DNA was, old urine, feces. I mean, it was a sight. I'll admit I was sad, very sad to know that this is what our ancestors had to endure. Um, oh my God, it was breathtaking. It was like, mm, mm, mm.
There are 5 compartments. Each chamber was about 200. But this one is naturally brighter than the other 4 because of this hole. I indicated earlier that because the companies, the buyers, the merchants were several, all by holding all of them in the same dungeon, they branded them for easy identification. So when the ships came, before they were loaded, in this last room, they sorted them out, counted them, so to know those they murdered and those who refused to die. Hence this open for more light to see the marks, for easy sorting and counting. And after that, those who were strong enough to survive the ships, the deadly voyages, were not allowed to walk to the courtyard. What I mean is, they were not using the doorway used in to go out. Rather, they marched them underground. They walked underground from here to the door of no return. Okay? Start it. I'm giving my hand. The entrance to the tunnel was behind us. The entrance was right behind this altar, but closed, blocked off with this wall. The wall the white calabashes placed on is what they used to close the entrance. They blocked off the entrance in the year 1833. 1833 is when the British passed the law to abolish slave trade in their possessions and territories, including this country. 1833, they blocked off the entrance to signify that slave trade is over by the British. Over because even after 1833, there were others who were still smuggling captives. And the wall here is now dedicated to the souls of our ancestors. This is a shrine, a place of worship. You know, before Christianity, before Islam were introduced to the people here already knew their creator, knew their God, worshiping him through deities. We call them Arusu. And again, we believe that when our people die, physically they will not be with us, but spiritually they are always with us. And because they become spirit, they are able to carry our message to the Almighty. So we do pray through them. And this dungeon is built on such a rock, meaning the dungeon was even built on a sacred ground. But when they built the dungeon, they were not allowing Cape Coasters to come around here to pour libation, to worship. So Cape Coasters came for these two stones as part of the rock into the community. So this altar was in the community when the British were here. After the British, they performed rituals, brought back the stones, put them on the steps. They worshipped the shrine again. The name of the shrine is Nana Tabir. Most of the times you come and meet the priest sitting on, but he didn't come today. That is why there are stools and chairs for those who come here to worship and consult. So the shrine is still active. There is Pan-African Historical Theatre Festival, PANAFest. There is Emancipation Day celebration. Recently, Year of Eternal Beyond the Retired. These are events we organize purposely to commemorate our ancestors. And during the events, different flowers are laid here in their memory. Some well-wishers and sympathizers also visit and do so. So next time you are coming, I will be expecting yours.
It was just breathtaking hearing the stories of our ancestors being locked, couldn't move, chained to the floor, to the walls, defecating everywhere, urinating everywhere. It was just so saddening to hear that that's what our people had to go through. And it was even more sad when you think about that our people were the ones that put our people there.